Four Knights of the Apocalypse chapter 219 is officially out. We're getting the setup for what actually might be the end of the second part of this story. The Sins are making their appearance, the Four Knights got some other stuff to do, with actual war on the horizon, and what a big way for us to end 2025 with the last chapter of the year. But before we jump right into this chapter, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy what I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Based on how things are going, I'm pretty sure 2026 is going to be one hell of a year for Four Knights, because with what this chapter is setting up, things are going to get big, things are going to get exciting, and even more tense going forward. So I'm very much looking forward to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this early Christmas gift. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Hope you all have a great time. But now let's just jump right into the video and see what happens in this chapter. So chapter 219 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled What I Want Known. Cover image is just Guinevere and Lancelot sitting down underneath the window, so no one sees that Lancelot is there. The chapter begins with Lancelot actually leaving Guinevere's tower without any of the knights noticing, as they're all on high alert to make sure Guinevere isn't taken and that she is the highest priority of security right now and that they must protect her with their lives, all while Lancelot is casually walking away, obviously showing that he has zero sign. As he's walking out from the tower, he looks up towards Guinevere's room. We get to hear the conversation Lancelot and Guinevere had before he left between the end of last chapter and now about his training with Bond, basically confirming zero sign and everything. Now Guinevere says she doesn't know about any of the training or whatever, but she did know that Lancelot would visit her today, so timeline seemingly so far is intact from her future vision. As Lancelot brings up, kaleidoscope and everything, saying that's a very impressive skill. As Guinevere stares over at Lancelot, saying something interesting, that he has never had any attempts to ask her about the future. Although in comparison, Arthur, aka Cath, as it seems that the identity of Arthur being Cath hasn't been known to Guinevere yet, or seemingly at all, for what I'm asked, considering. That's an interesting thing to think about. But yeah, in comparison to Arthur, constantly asking her for future visions so that he can get a one-up and destroy the Sins in the Four Knights. Lancelot thinks about it for a moment and just says, whether he knows the future or not, we all die sooner or later. And not only that, but he also managed to meet all of his friends without knowing what's going to pop up going on, and that he also managed to meet Guinevere as well, which does make her happy. Honestly, really smart answer. Some people just don't want to know the future or even need to, because one, that's actually the big surprise of life. If you constantly know what's going on in the future, it kind of diminishes the journey of life, from what we can tell. And a bunch of different stories kind of use the idea of knowing the future or future sight in very different ways. And having Lancelot being somebody that just does not want to actually know the future, because what's the point in it? All this stuff that's happened to me so far, all the people I've met and everything that's going on, I didn't need to know the future to have all these things happen. So there's not much point. That and we all live and die, so there's not much point in knowing what will eventually come. So I kind of get that mentality. But then Guinevere asks him one thing: what he's been doing at Camelot the past 2 years. As she knows, he's been traveling, defeating Chaos Knights, slaughtering Chaos Knights obviously, and being feared as the god of war amongst them. And basically confirms what we all kind of figured, that if Lancelot really wanted to, he could have wiped out every last Chaos Knight in the kingdom, say maybe the Four Perils for all we know, and Cath himself. There's still some stuff that we might not know, but obviously, vast majority, if not all the Chaos Knights, he probably could have wiped out with no effort. But Lancelot said, you never asked the future me about this. As Guinevere said, I did, you just called it a simple boots on the ground mission. As Lancelot scratches his head, and then uses his shape-shifting abilities to turn into the guy from last chapter who was handing out all the talismans. Yes, I know, I'm an idiot. I should have looked at Lancelot having the same bag as the guy handing out all these protective charms and realized that it was Lancelot using his transformation abilities. That's my bad, I should have looked into it. I am a very bad YouTuber. But yeah, this surprises Guinevere and kind of squishes her off to the side as she tries to get away, asking why he took that form. As he says, he was sparring with the Chaos Knights, calls casually slaughtering them all sparring, as a way to cover his actual mission. As he says, take this, an amulet infused with blessings for the citizens of Camelot. We recommend you keep it worn at all times, giving Guinevere the same talisman that he gave to everyone else, as he gave them to all the people across Camelot, and he adjusted the pitch a little for those forcibly being brought there. Now, Lancelot continues to explain what the amulet is, as we all kind of figured to a degree. It's a magic amulet modeled after the mechanism behind the door to Camelot. Obviously, Thetis has made this ability to use the portal to Camelot from the Eon Realm. It seems this talisman is being made in a similar manner, as it forcibly transports anyone possessing it into Britannia. And he says, of course, I gave them to your parents and everyone in Camelot as well. As he also mentions that if they decided to bring people out of Camelot one by one, it would attract Cath's attention, so they're going to wait for the right moment to activate and transport everybody with the talisman all at once, jump scaring Cath, and thus giving them a bit more time and advantage for what's going on, making him a lot more questionable and panicky, perhaps. And it's then that after hearing all this, Guinevere goes up and hugs Lancelot, saying thank you. As we see Lancelot continuing to walk away from the city, pulling something out from his pocket, as Lancelot says, yeah, this was a boots on the ground mission with Guinevere, as he then chants the passkey to activate the portal to bring him to Britannia, as he begins to walk through it and ends up back in Leonis. Now, obviously no one notices he's there, as he is still using Zero Sign. He then thinks back to him saying goodbye to Guinevere. As it shows, she actually kissed him on the cheek as she thanked him. And after remembering this, Lancelot let his cool slip, and he says, cut me a break, embarrassingly, as he's starting to blush. As it's then his Zero Sign instantly snaps off, as everybody in town is shocked to see Lancelot pop up out of nowhere, as Lancelot says, man, he's really got to practice that a lot more. So first off, Zero Sign instantly turns off when there is a strong emotion or of some kind that kind of breaks his concentration. So if he's not careful, any particular emotion could just make him pop up out of nowhere if he's trying to be stealthy. Second of all, seems that Lancelot is now starting to catch feelings for Guinevere. Not going to mention how I still don't like the whole age gap thing with how it is right now, but the baseline of it, the baseline writing of it is somewhat sweet. I just really wish Nakaba did not, make this a little bit weird. Then again, Lancelot was in a reverse hyperbolic time chamber for a couple of years, so technically he's 15, I guess. But like, it's a weird thing. This could just be a retcon on Nakaba's part, for all I know, with the whole time chamber thing with the lake. I'm getting too into this. But that's all. We're moving on. Lancelot makes it back to Leonos Castle as he meets the entire squad, the rest of the 4 knights, as Percival is back with both Anne and Nazienne. They're back from their honeymoon. Gawain's just yawning in the air, as the rest of the team is there as well. As this kind of surprises everybody, as Tristan says that Meliodas called them all there and they were waiting for him. As Lancelot answers Tristan's question that he was in Camelot the whole time, doing the finishing touches. As he looks over at Percival with a smile, saying, did you 3 enjoy the trip? As Percival with the big goofy grin on his face says, oh yeah, as Nazienne and Anne are blushing like crazy. Let's just say Percival managed to ride the tricycle. Yeah, they definitely did some stuff in that whole vacation that they went on. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tristan and Isolde did as well at some point. So relationships are blooming. Even faster than I anticipated. They're all adults now, what the hell, go for it. But Donnie then goes up and just says to Nazienne, so hold on, you guys made me feel like the outcast of the group now. And questions, wait, Nazienne, you were a girl the whole time? Why did you not tell me? But Anne just says you're just too dense to notice the whole time. Obviously no one figured Nazienne was a girl, it was still a whole thing we didn't know about. But yeah, it's still a funny interaction that Donnie is just confronting them being like, you had to leave me out of everything, and leave me out of the loop. And I find that hilarious. But as Lancelot's walking away, he says they won't see him for a good while, as this surprises everybody. As Isolde is wondering what's going on, there's a big crowd in the main hall as the guards open the door, as we see in a double-page spread, the current members of the 7 Deadly Sins are all here. Meliodas, Ban, Gother, King, and Diane are all waiting for the 4 knights and their friends in the middle of the hall. And it's just a It's really nice seeing all these characters together in one place again. I love the contrast of all the character sizes, the artwork, everything looks great. It makes me happy to see these characters together again. Now, I mean, obviously we know Merlin is alive and is an ally, but now they have to know what's going on with her. But all the sins are in Leonis once more. Now, this is something that is definitely going to raise a bunch of red flags for people who remember some stuff, but I'll get into that in a second. They all agree Lancelot and the whole main group, as Lancelot is actually surprised what Bon is doing there in the first place. Is wondering what's going on with Benwick and his mother, as who's there protecting them. Bon teases Lancelot, but then Gowther says that he informed the rest of them on the plan in general, as then Lancelot wonders how Gowther has his body again, the way it was before. And Gowther just reveals, oh, don't worry about it. Merlin's old laboratory workshop had a bunch of spares lying around, so I can just fix myself whenever. Honestly, kind of makes sense to a degree, why Gowther's body is the same. And I would not be surprised that Merlin left a bunch of spare bodies for Gowther to help, like, fix and put himself back together, with now Dubs most likely in Leonis now. Same with Thetis, who is now the High Mage of Leonis. So, okay, makes sense, good explanation. Still, fun interaction. But it's then Diane pops up to Lancelot with her pigtail just encapsulating his entire head as she kneels down to actually talk to him, eye level, as King says that Benwick, there's no need to worry, as it's in the hands of some reliable guardians. Same thing with the Fairy King's Forest. As Lancelot's wondering what they mean by this, we then get a page scrolling down of all the allies the Sins have made over the main story. We start off in Benwick, where Zeldris and Gelda, Mommy Gelda, and the Testaments, Zeldris' elite guard, are helping guard Elaine and Benwick from any external threats, which is really damn cool. Then the Fairy King Forest still has King Diane's kids guarding there, obviously. We have Matrona there, so we're seeing her for the first time in this series. Jenna and Zaneri, the Druid sisters. And finally, Mael. Yes, Mael, an incredibly important character from the End of Seven Deadly Sins that we have not seen in the sequel whatsoever, and really should have had a bigger role in the story, especially with Gawain, considering that she is Escanor's daughter, and Mael and Escanor ended up having a big boatload of respect towards each other, and I really feel like Mael would have been a good person to help train Gawain in Sunshine. I made a whole video on this when we were getting the reveal of who Gawain was, a disappointing reveal of why Mael is back in the story. I wish we had an actual focus on him, but it is what it is, I guess. Still, really nice to see that all the allies the Sins have made over their whole journey in the original series have come together to protect Bon and Bon's kingdom and the Fairy King Forest realm, the Fairy Realm, from any external threats. Now, I might be asking, why is that the case? Obviously, because the Sins are no longer protecting them, as we'll get into the reason why they're all together. Now, after this big setup and reveal, Gawain ends up asking the obvious question. Why are we all here? Why are we all here with all these big names? Why is everything being set up like this? As Lancelot, with a big grin on his face, says, "We're about to kick off a war, folks." As this shocks everybody, as it seems like they're like full force declaring actual war against Camelot in every sense of the word. Which makes sense with all the other kingdoms being guarded by their allies while all the Sins are here in Leonis. As now we're getting the actual full-length plan. As Meliodas begins to say that once they begin making moves, Arthur, Cath, will absolutely try to invade our base of operation. That being Leonis, which makes sense to what we saw at the beginning of this chapter with Lancelot saying that they're going to teleport everybody with a talisman back to Britannia in one fell swoop. As this is the reason why they are all in Leonis. The Sins are going to take care of Arthur when he inevitably shows up to Leonis to try and take them down in their base of operations, with Meliodas giving this command to Lancelot, Tristan, Gawain, and Percival, the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, as they are to leave Leonis on an important mission. They are to infiltrate Camelot, search for Merlin, and gain the key that will shatter chaos for good, as this is now an official mission for the Four Knights of the Apocalypse. And that's how the chapter ends. So, I called to a degree this stuff from last week's video about Guinevere's future visions kind of screwing everything up to a degree. And as we all kind of have to remember, Part 2, the time skip, started with chapter 129, and it was a flash forward of Leonis being attacked by Arthur in the Four Perils, and him facing off against the 7 deadly sins. Most likely Elizabeth's going to be there as well. Big explosion happens, and in the dust we see somebody towering over what seems like a dead Bon. And so now, with the sins all in Leonis, only the 4 knights are going to leave and go on their mission to search for Merlin, and obviously once they realize the real Arthur, Leonis is left with the sins to defend it, and obviously most likely other holy knights and the brigades of Tristan and Percival. And for all we know, Diodora, the other Isolde who we haven't seen in a long time, and especially Balin, will probably be helping defend Leonis as well, because this mission to infiltrate Camelot and find Merlin is only for the 4 knights, which is something I and many fans definitely really wanted. An arc where the main focus is just these 4 characters, because while these characters have interacted many times before, it was never just the 4 of them for the most part. They've always had other members of their group around, so it just feels right to finally get an arc centered around these characters doing something. And I am really glad about this, and I'm looking forward to see how this is going to pan out. But like I mentioned, we are seemingly starting this arc, getting ready for the future, well, bad vision of the future that Guinevere foresaw at the beginning of this part. So, we're gonna see Cath fight 5 members of the 7 deadly sins, and for all we know, it's gonna go really, really badly at the end if the future vision is how it is. So, yeah, things are gonna go insane. So for all we know, this next batch of chapters is gonna have a big focus on the 4 knights traveling through Camelot, while us then getting a section focusing entirely on the raid on Leonis. Get hyped for 2026, because this might be the best stretch of chapters we will be getting. 4 Knights of the Apocalypse by themselves, and the 7 deadly sins all together in action against the main antagonist of the story. The previous generation fighting the main antagonist so far of the story. Things are going to get interesting. Things are going to be incredibly hype, and I cannot wait to see a massive fight with the sins against Arthur, and hopefully they get the reveal that it's actually Cath the whole time. I feel like Cath can't maintain the Arthur form for long in a fight against the sins in particular in order to beat them. So this is getting insane. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen next. I'm curious what twists and turns are going to happen in the future. But you guys let me know your thoughts on this chapter and what will happen in the future of the story in the comments section down below. And what's more, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. With all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. Well, if this is the last video of the year. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see.